So Trump built a wall, but it's a tariff wall, and it's targeting us. Trump's tariff tax is an attack on Canadians, and it's super important for us all to stand together as Canadians and to be united. And so the province of Manitoba, we fully support the federal government's response to these U.S. tariffs. And we, as the province of Manitoba, are going to be announcing new steps every single day this week to protect your jobs and to safeguard our economy here at home. And on a personal level, if you're looking for ways to fight back, just remember to shop local and to buy Canadian. Where you choose to spend your money, those are some of the most important decisions that you make.
Today we're at a crossroad, and the journey ahead won't be easy. But there is no place on earth I would rather be to face this threat than right here in British Columbia. We have everything we need to succeed: abundant natural wealth and clean, cheap energy, a diversified economy, and access to global markets. And our most important resource of all, you, the people who call this beautiful place home. British Columbians are hardworking, highly skilled, and resilient. Through this uncertainty, our government will be there to stand up for you and your family. As proud British Columbians and Canadians, we will meet this moment together and come out stronger on the other side. Together we'll fight, not fold. Be resolute, not roll over, because that's just who we are. Here in the true North, strong and free.
Joining us now, the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford. Thank you so much for being here with us. These tariffs, brand new, just signed within the last hour. I first just want your initial reaction, because you have said you plan to rain down economic punishment on America in response to these. What do you think comes next?
Well, first of all, Jessica, I just want to send our prayers and thoughts to the family that lost loved ones in the aviation accident. It's a tragedy. As for the tariffs, it was unjustified. It's unfair. And frankly, it was illegal, breaking a deal that we had with the USMCA deal. And it's disappointing. Canada and Canadians love the U.S. I love the U.S. I love the American people. We're your closest ally and trading partner, your largest export destination in the entire world. This is going to hurt Americans. It's going to hurt Canadians. We're going to see inflation happen down in the U.S. and in Canada, and it's unjustified.
And so what steps will Canada take next? I mean, we are expecting to hear from your Prime Minister. He was supposed to speak within the hour. Obviously, we have been monitoring the NTSB update. But what do you think happens? What does Canada do now?
Well, we'll have retaliatory measures. It's unfortunate. We don't want to do it. We'd rather have a strong trading partner with the U.S., build an AMCAN fortress. We want to ship down more products, more critical minerals, more oil. That's what we want to do. But I can assure you, what President Trump underestimates, the resilience of the Canadian people, the strength of the Canadian people. No matter what political stripe you come from in Canada, we're united. We're a united country, and we're a proud country.
And when you say retaliatory measures, is that retaliatory tariffs, you believe?
Yes, there'll be retaliatory tariffs, and the Prime Minister will announce that shortly.
And is there any sense, would you have any more details on those before I move on from that?
I'll leave that up to the Prime Minister to speak for the country. But what I can tell you, we're the number one export destination for 28 states across the country. Ontario alone, we're the number one trading partner, number one customer, per se, for 17 states, and number two to 11 others. We do $500 billion of trade on both sides of the border, split equally down the center. And 9 million Americans wake up every morning, Jessica, to produce products for Ontario alone, not to mention the rest of the country. And what's really disturbing when President Trump is using fentanyl as a reason, lumping us in with Mexico and China. The figures from U.S. Customs is very clear. There's over 9,600 kilos coming fentanyl coming from Mexico. Ours is 19 kilos, which is too much, which is 0.001% of fentanyl compared to Mexico coming into the U.S., compared to over 25,000 kilos of narcotics, be it heroin or cocaine, opioids, coming from the U.S. into Canada. We have a strong relationship with the U.S. Customs. Our customs officers work collaboratively with them, working with the DEA. Our RCMP is working collaboratively. I can tell the American people, Canada is not the problem. The problem is the Mexican border and China. That's where the problem is.
And do you have any sense yet of timing? Do you, as a member of the Canadian government, know when the U.S. tariffs on Canadian products will take place, will go into action?
Well, what I understand, what I've heard, that they're going to be very soon, almost immediate. And why President Trump would want to attack his largest customer, per se, largest trading partner, closest ally, that this goes back to all the way back to 1867. We have stood shoulder to shoulder with Americans during World War I, World War II, 9/11. We sent our troops over to stand shoulder to shoulder with American troops. We lost soldiers standing up for our family, and we consider the U.S. part of our family.
And I am curious what you think the relationship will be like going forward between Canada and the U.S. And if you all have any sense, because the sense that we've gotten from our reporting is that, especially for the Canadian representatives, it's a bit nebulous, in fact, a lot nebulous, as to exactly what you're supposed to do to get rid of these tariffs. What is the marker for, I mean, it's very wide. It's no fentanyl deaths in the U.S., but what does that practically look like?
Oh, that's just not realistic when, we're responsible for 0.001%.
We do not want a trade war, but Donald Trump is bringing one. And I know workers are worried that you might lose your job. Families are worried that the price of food, which is already so high, is going to go up even higher. Workers should not pay the price for this trade war, and they don't have to. We can put in place financial supports that directly help those impacted. We can make sure that Canadian contracts go to Canadian workers, and we can fight back with retaliatory tariffs. And we can shut off the flow of critical minerals, hitting Elon Musk where it counts. For New Democrats, our priority is clear. We will always fight for workers. We will always fight for Canadian jobs and Canadian families. With New Democrats, it's workers first, always.
Against China, he has told the American people that this is about stemming the flow of fentanyl and undocumented migrants into the country, and that somehow those countries are going to be penalized by these tariffs. Is that how this works?
No, that's never how it works. I mean, tariffs always lead to trade wars, tariff wars like we're about to see. And that just means escalating costs for consumers. Now, the irony was he ran on making the economy better for regular people, making lives better for regular people. This is going to be taking money out of their pockets because it just means consumer goods are going to be more expensive. And because it's so broad-based, it's going to have a damaging effect across the economy in pretty short order, I would think. They'll be able to stall it back to some extent. Sometimes these companies can delay transferring it over, but eventually it's going to hit consumers and right in the pocketbook.
Mm-hmm. And Congressman Connolly, I mean, it's amazing to me. So he's doing the tariffs, and this comes after a week of a bunch of things that he has done. You just made a point of this about going after the federal workforce, right. Whether it's purging the Department of Justice of investigators who worked on investigations into January 6th or into him. Proposing buyouts of federal employees, basically saying, hey, if you leave, we'll pay you. My big hobby horse here is that from what we've seen over the last 12 days, Congressman, is an incredible overreach by the executive into the prerogatives and powers of the legislative branch. And I think we were supposed to we had to cut down my long intro, my little soliloquy, but it was going to end on a quote from you where you say, you talk about the overreach, but you also say it's unconstitutional.
So you can see there again, Canadians on different sides of the political spectrum. You have people from the NDP, which is, again, the Bernie AOC left-wing party we talked about, from Trudeau's center-right party, and then you even have conservatives who are, maybe sort of like your moderate Republicans in some way, not your MAGA types, but they would be like your moderate Republicans. All of us are united in Canada. We have our far-right pro-MAGA traitors, we do, but reasonable people who disagree on a lot in Canada are united, and we're already starting to get our revenge, and you're seeing it. Just one example. If you go to the liquor store in some parts of Canada now, and in parts of Canada, we have government-owned liquor stores, right? You go in there, and they have liquors from all over the world. And a lot of American products, obviously. We're neighbors, and we're friends. We'll still be friends, hopefully, if Donald doesn't get his way. But you can see there, buy Canadian instead. They've taken some American products off the shelf already and encouraging people to buy Canadian. Now, of course, this isn't any shot at the American working people that make those products and the American working class that, by and large, knows all of this is BS. And you guys in the comments are telling me, you understand why Canada has to do this. But it needs to be made clear. Donald, and I said this earlier, people didn't get what I was saying. Trump is already showing weakness. He said 25% tariff on everything from Canada. Every piece of wood, every barrel of oil, every bag of chips, every car, whatever. And then lo and behold, he's already saying, well, actually, maybe only 10% on oil. And actually, this will hurt Americans. He's already cracking, and together, good people on both sides of the border will break him.